Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a really simple coaster or tray or something that you can put small parts in, or even trinkets, even jewellery, and then how to set it up for your 3D printer as well, ready for printing. It's a very simple part. This is very basic. This is ideal if it's your first print and your first use of Fusion 360 as well. So let's get straight into it. So this is Fusion 360, I've already opened it. On the left here is where all your projects are. I've already made this folder here, 3D printing. You just click new project and then you type in the name you want, and that is where your part will be saved when you make it. This is saved on the cloud, this is not saved on your desktop. So if you want them on your desktop, you have to download them onto your desktop afterwards. So I'm going to close that now just to get rid of that part. So the first thing you're going to do is choose what plane you want to draw on. I'm going to choose the top plane. In the corner here you've got this little cube where it's quite easy to find what plane you want. So that's the front plane, the right plane. I'm going to go top plane. I'm going to build up from the bottom. First thing I'm going to do is to create a new component. It makes it nicer when you're doing more complex things to make it as components, the easier to edit it. So even though this is a fairly simple part and you don't really need to make it as a component, just for the sake of future parts, it's just good to do. So click OK. So I've got the top plane selected. I want to create sketch on, and then you have to select the plane that you want to select. So I'm going to select this one. So when I was clicking this earlier, this was just orientating the workspace. When you choose to make a sketch, you have to sketch it onto a plane. So I'm going to create a polygon, and it's going to be that one. I'm centering it to the origin of the part. When you hover over, it auto snaps onto it. This is really good because you do need to know where the center is. It makes things a lot easier otherwise. So that's my part. I'm going to dimension it. Sketch dimension. And I'm going to make this 100 millimeters tall. And then what I'm going to do is, you can see that this is wonky here. It's not straight. So click horizontal and vertical, click this line, and that just it constrains it to being horizontal. When the whole sketch goes black, that means it's fully defined, and it won't be affected by any changes that you make elsewhere. If it was blue, then that means it's not defined, and any changes that you could make could affect it, and it can jump around and do weird things. So it's best to always constrain it so you don't have that problem going forward. So I'm going to finish the sketch. Just click finish sketch, and then you can if you want to rotate the workspace, hold down shift and the center button, and you can the center scroll button on your mouse. So shift center scroll button on your mouse, and you can rotate the plane. So you can see from a slightly different angle what we're working with. Now you want to extrude. This button here is extrude button, so click on it, and then you just decide what distance you want, how tall do you want it to be. So for this, I'm going to make it 4 millimeters because I think that's strong enough to hold what you want to hold, but then also it doesn't take up too much material in your 3D printer. You could make it 3 millimeters. I'd be wary about going below 2, just because then it might snap, and then that won't be very useful at all. And then to add on to this, I'm going to add a little ledge because I don't want any of the little trinkets or the little parts that I have on here falling off. Or if it's a coaster, it doesn't really matter. If it's a coaster, you could just stop here and that's good enough. But I'm going to make it as a tray to hold things. Okay, so next we are going to add that little ledge. So I've clicked on this plane because that's where I want to do in the next sketch. Click Create Sketch. I'm then going to click this button here that says Project Include. So what this does is it projects geometry that you already have, so it ends up being in the exact same place but on a different sketch. I'll show you what I mean. So it says here select, so you select the surface that you want, that's selected. Don't worry about changing those, click OK. And what I've got here is the sketch from this shape is now on the surface and it matches exactly the shape of the external shape that we've already created. So next we're going to offset this. So what offsetting does is it takes the line you've made and it moves it, but it keeps the original line, it adds an extra line. So it says select, so I'm going to select and it auto selects all 6. First thing I'm going to do is to flip the offset because I want it to come inwards, and you can see that it's put it as a minus, and then I'm just going to change it, so I'm going to make it 4mm, which is the same as the thickness, and that's brought that line inwards. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to finish sketch. Though if you want to change that dimension, it comes up here and you just double click it and you can change it again, but I'm happy with it as it is, so finish sketch, happy. I'm going to use my shift and control just to rotate my screen again so I can see what I'm doing, and then I want to extrude that edge. The nice thing about Fusion is that it's fairly clever in that it picks up what you want to select. So I've got these 2 sketches technically. So I could click the bit in the middle, I could click the bit on the edge. I'm going to click the bit on the edge, and then again I'm going to make that 4mm. And then click OK or click Enter. And we've got a nice little tray. What I'm going to do now is just add some radiuses to these corners to make it a little bit more nicer to print, nicer to feel. You don't really want sharp edges, things get caught. So let's add those. So on this one you can click fillet, and then I'm going to click this bottom face. This will radius all the inside bottom edge. So, and then you just type in here what you want. Let's try 1. That looks okay. You can zoom in, have a look, and then you can also add on, if you hold control as it's telling you right there, you can add on additional lines. So, and you can keep adding additional lines until you click OK, basically. So hold control and click, and then I'm using the shift scroll on my mouse to rotate the view. So that's all of them. So yes, I'm happy with that. Okay. So that's nice, but now actually I do want to add some radiuses on the outside edge. So the way you can do this, you can edit. You only need to have the one fillet option. You can just right click and edit feature. And then what you can do is you can click this plus and you can add an extra new fillet. So first you need to click a side and then do the same again. So what I'm going to do actually is I want it curved on the bottom. No, I think I'm just going to do curved. So hold down control. Oops. Yep, control. Then you have to rotate. Sometimes it will let you click through the object, and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the angle. So I'm going to make this 2mm. See what that looks like. I'm going to make it 4, so it's 4. Yes, I think that's better. Let's go 4. And then you click OK. Very simple. And that's how I'm going to make it. I'm going to save this now. So, hexagonal tray. If you want to make it bigger, smaller, smaller, either way. Okay, so now you want to export it. So scroll, you want an STL file. It comes up with all these different file types. They're useful for different things, but for 3D printing you want an STL. And then you need to choose a file location, which I will put it in there, and export. That's exported. Excellent. So now you want to open your Ultimaker Cura software. If you don't know how to download this, there is another video that I've made on how to download it. It's very straightforward. So you want to open your file. So it's here, STL, and it already comes up as a Cura file, and it will auto snap it to the center. That is where I want it. So for rotating this screen, you need to right click your mouse and just rotate. It's different to Fusion. It's a bit confusing when you jump from one to the other. So you can rotate it, see it wherever you want. So for this doesn't need any supports whatsoever because it's just flat on the surface and the sides are built up from the base. So that's why this one is very simple and straightforward, because you don't need to add any supports. If you want to do something more complicated, I have other videos where you can put in supports. But for this one, that's done. This grey area shows the printer bed, and this should be the same dimensions as the printer that you have. If it's not, then the settings either might be wrong in the printer, it might be a different printer. You can, if you want to, you have to highlight it and then you can move it. So it has these arrows, so you can move it manually, or you could, if you want to put a set distance, I'm going to put that back to the 0, so it auto toggles onto the center, so 0, 0, 0, and then you can move it around if you want to, and then put it back to the center as well if you want to. Or if you have a printer, I had a printer at one point that had a big hole in the middle of it. I didn't do that, someone else did that, but I had to avoid the center, so you can move it to a different place on the bed. So that's in the center. You can also scale it, you can rotate it as well if you want to. Again, you can put an angle in, or you can rotate using the arrows. You can mirror it as well, and you can add bits and pieces that you want to. You can add multiple of these as well. So check the material. So on this, it gives you a variety of materials you can choose. If you go on generic, these are the generic ones. When you order the material, you can buy, there are also other ones you can buy as well. If you're not sure what you have, it normally says on the side of the reel. If you actually have it on hand, you can read the side. So I'm using PLA, and it's set up automatically for the nozzle size. It already knows the optimal temperatures for each of the material as well. So that's already set, so I'm going to leave that alone. That's the correct nozzle. On this, so this is the resolution, so I could do it at a lower quality so it's thicker, or a really fine quality so it's thinner, but there's a difference in timing, and I'll show you that in a minute. These are the basic settings. So fill density. So for this, you don't need to change any of this. If you wanted supports, that's where you'd add the supports, but we do not need it and don't need to touch any of that. So that's okay. Printer settings. So now you can press slice. This is where it analyzes it for the printing. It shows you how long it will take. Preview. This isn't going to show much. So what this is when it starts, it does a few rounds of resin, and then we'll start building up the tray afterwards. If you want to change the quality, so for example, low quality, change that. Yes, I know. That is quicker, but it's a lower quality. And then if you want to set it to super quality and slice that, that then takes a lot longer, 5 hours. I don't have time for that. So standard quality, slice. Excellent. So this is where you save it to your data card or your USB, plug it into your printer and follow the instructions on your printer. That's it for this video for today. Good luck. I hope it goes well. Let me know in the comments if you have any issues. Bye.